Hi, and welcome to Fine Art Podcast, where the podcast may be fine, but the art is fine. My name's Keegan Shiner, and this is my inaugural podcast. I know inaugural is kind of a dirty word right now, but it's just my first podcast. I like talking to fine artists. They're the most interesting people in the world. And I love talking to them about how they make it, how they do it, and what they're up to next. I like having honest conversations. So this podcast is sort of about process and influence and the work. My first guest is Brooke Stewart. I met Brooke while she was getting her MFA at the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, SMFA, at Tufts University. She's currently a professor at Northeastern University, and her work deals with female identity, gender roles, and sports. It's really interesting stuff. Her paintings are massive. They're like 5x7 now, I think, but they were like 7x5. They take up whole walls. You walk up to them, and you have to crane your neck, basically. Brooke has shown her work recently at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, Contemporary Print in Austin, Texas, the St. Louis Artist Guild in Missouri, and the North American Print Biennial at the Jewett Art Center at Wellesley College. She was recently published in New American Paintings, number 41 and 42. And she was selected by the art department at Wellesley College for the 2020-2021 Alice C. Cole 42 Merit Grant in Studio Art. So I hope that you'll enjoy this podcast with Brooke, and I'll catch you on the other side. I'd like to welcome Brooke Stewart to the show.
Thank you for having me. Very
Brooke,
excited.
how are you dealing with COVID times? Quarantining?
I moved mid-COVID, which has helped.
Oh, wow.
Like 3 months somewhere and then 3 months somewhere else. So that was good, kind of like setting up my new house. And then I've been preparing for a show that's going to be in December.
At the Distillery Gallery?
So I've been painting and thinking a lot.
Did you switch studios, or are you at the same studio?
No, I was the Boston Center for the Arts had a call open to change studios. They had some spaces open 6-month period from October till March.
Yeah.
But I share with this older woman who I adore, and if I left, then she would lose her space. So
Oh, wow.
I think until I know for sure that I can afford my full space, that I'm probably going to stick with her because she's very funny.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So
it's
you
nice
fit
to have
in.
conversation, especially during COVID.
Yeah. You don't mind sharing a space then with someone else?
No, I mean, she takes up very little, and she's only there on Tuesday nights, so I just don't go on Tuesday nights.
Oh, yeah.
But she leaves me little sticky notes, which is funny because she's like 74 and a preschool art teacher. And then she made a sign on the door for me that was bedazzled and had my name on it. Which
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we love Jen. Jen's great.
Yeah. So what studio are you out of right now?
I work at the Vernon Street Studios in Somerville.
Okay.
About a half-mile walk from my house. So.
Oh, great. Cool. How did you get started as an artist? Let me go back. Where did you come from?
Well, I was born in Melrose Wakefield Hospital.
Okay.
And I grew up on the North Shore.
All right.
And I went to the College of William and Mary.
Okay. Where is William and Mary?
It's in Southern Virginia.
Virginia. Okay. Was that a culture shock?
Yeah.
Going from the Northeast to the South?
Yeah, they all thought I was nuts. They were like, you need to slow down. It was good. And then it was kind of nice to slow down for a bit. But I was playing Division I basketball. So that was basically my job while I was at college.
Okay.
And then from there, I went to the School of the Museum of Fine Arts at Tufts University. And then I was the post-grad teaching fellow there for painting and drawing, and I kind of lucked out because it was a full-time gig for a year. So I taught 2 painting classes and 2 drawing classes, 1 intro and 1 advanced of each subject. So that was awesome for my experience. And I got to work with Ethan Morrow, who is just wonderful.
He's a illustrator, right?
Yeah, he's an artist.
Yeah, he's artist, but like he uses pencils on like.
He uses pencils, but he's recently started doing color, and it's really good.
Oh, cool.
And he's just so kind.
Because I see his work. It's like 20-foot walls of pencil or marker. Like, yeah, Sharpies. Wasn't it Sharpies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his wife is an illustrator, and she made this book of like female superhero or like Disney princesses that were saving or something that was really great. I don't know. So it
that's
was
cool.
Really awesome working for someone that like wanted me to do well.
It's nice to have a good boss.
Yeah, I played sports my whole life, and like I had a good high school basketball coach, but like my coaches in college I really hated. Coach Lawson, and that comes through in the work.
Yeah, it does. We're gonna get to the work. Wait, so going back, you came from the Northeast. Were you painting then when you were in high school?
I painted. So I had an awesome art teacher in high school. His name was Walter Meinelt, and I was also very I wouldn't say strange, but like people thought that I was too intense because I played all these sports, and then I would eat lunch in the art room.
Okay.
And work on my projects.
Your art projects? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I started painting until maybe junior year. I mean, we did like gouache squares, like the first 2 years, but and then Mr. Meinel actually introduced me to my first printmaking project.
Okay.
Which was awesome. But yeah, no, I think going to a high school that had a good art program helped.
So rewinding even more, did you draw as a child and like, was this always with you, or at some point did you find it as like a good outlet for other things?
So I don't really read well.
Okay.
And so when I was growing up, it was a way that I felt, because I was always going. And when I was drawing, my mind kind of like relaxed a little bit. So I would doodle a lot on things, almost too many things, and get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
But one thing I did when I was younger that I don't know if it translated or not, but I used to sew bean bags, and I taught myself how to juggle. But I would like sit there and like sew bean bags, and I would like make earrings. And
in class?
No, like at home.
Oh wow.
Like a big treat for me was going to AC Moore to get like a kit.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think it was just like, because I couldn't really sit still. So if I had something to do, and then it kind of just
turn that energy into painting. And then when you got to college, that's when you went into art more, or?
So I was really big into art in high school, and then when I got to college, I wanted to go to art school, but I had to play basketball because it was free. So I went. And the art school at William & Mary is very traditional.
Okay.
Like,
what do you mean by traditional?
Super old master based, like drawing first, and then like drawing boxes and milk cartons and lights and chairs and negative space. And we would look at like all the, like, I did not know, you know what screwed me? I had zero conceptual art knowledge. Contemporary art knowledge going into grad school. So then when I interviewed for grad school, and they asked me who my favorite contemporary artist was, I said Frank Stella at my Pratt interview, and he kicked me out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was like, I'll never forget it. His name is Nat Mead. He was like, next time you need to work.
Oh, no. Well, I had a similar, well, I didn't even go to art school. When I was undergrad, I had a film major. I think I said like Andy Warhol, like as like the artist that I knew. And but I get that, like not really knowing going into your MFA. Was that sort of a culture shock then when you got to like
Yeah.
an MFA program?
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at schools, I researched the teachers in my department and who I wanted to kind of learn from, and I really loved Patty and Ethan.
Yeah.
Um, I liked Patty a lot because her paintings,
Patty Loper. Yeah.
yeah, Patty Loper, her paintings were traditional. They look like old masters oil paintings, which I learned from, but then they were also like super weird and like she was like this floating. I remember she made this painting that I loved. That was this woman floating with hair. So it was like this woman ascending that looked just like her, but she had like a full coat of hair on her.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, this lady is a freak, but she can also paint. And so I think learning, like looking back on the whole education process, I think that it probably helped me by not knowing the contemporary people
yeah.
in undergrad, because it made you focus on like the true foundation of how to build a painting. And I had two really great professors in college, Nikki Santiago and John Lee, very traditional oil painting peeps. And they kind of gave me the chops. And then when I got to grad school and I was able to do what I wanted to do, I could.
What was it like balancing basketball and art in college?
I didn't sleep a lot.
Okay.
But I mean, it
What
was
was your schedule like for basketball?
in season.
Yeah.
So it was all year round. They passed a law, the NCAA passed a law that women's basketball was an all year round sport when I was a freshman. So we had to stay in the summer and work out.
Oh, wow.
But we would like every day, every weekday, we would have a lift in the morning. So from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7, we would have a lift. And then we would have a
Weightlifting, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure lots of people don't know what a lift is.
Yeah,
I was like, you got in the car?
yeah,
Where'd you go?
weights.
Yeah.
We would go to the gym to lift weights, and then we would
Okay.
have conditioning.
Okay.
Then we would go to breakfast as a team, and then after breakfast, we would only be able to take class from 9 to 2.
Okay.
So if your classes didn't fall in the 9 to 2 period, you had to take it over the summer.
Wow.
That was difficult for me because my studio classes were 3 hours long. So I had to kind of go to the department and say, like, I really want to do this. I'm a declared major. Is there any way that I can pass in projects over Christmas break that I can make up? And they were really awesome working with me. But then after class from 9 to 2, you would go to practice. So you'd go to the training room and get taped up, which you like tape all your injuries.
Oh, you tape, you like tape your arms and legs and.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is hilarious.
They didn't use Band-Aids or anything. They just tape.
Just
Okay.
tape, actually.
What is it?
No.
Painter's tape?
Mhm.
Oh,
Can you
wow.
imagine? We should make a painting about that.
Yeah. I just inspired you.
And then we would go to practice. Practice would be from like 3 to 5. Then we'd have film from 5 to 6. Then we'd go to dinner. Then we'd have study hall. Study hall was like a 3-hour block of time where you needed to be in the library. You like swiped in, and there was
Did they force you to study hall?
depending on your GPA.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I put it up a big fuss with the athletic department because they wanted me to go to study hall in the library when I had like so much painting to do. And the art building was right across the way. It was literally right across the courtyard. I was like, I'm going to be in here. If you'd like to come check on me, you can. I'm more surprised. I'm like not surprised on like how I balanced painting and basketball, but like how did I party so much?
Oh, you were a big partier in college?
And yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was like,
Were you in a sorority or anything? Were you allowed to be?
I mean, you could, but like, I felt like
okay.
athletic programs were kind of like their own thing.
Their own sorority, yeah.
But then like, because I'll go out and have a couple drinks and then come home and wake up the next morning like, I don't know how I went to practice.
Well, you were younger. Young people can bounce back pretty quick.
I know, but I'm only 26.
You're old. Old
news.
Old news, yeah.
It was definitely helped me in grad school. Everyone was like, I don't have any time. I was like, I have so much time.
Almost too much time at that point. Nobody's telling you to tape up.
I know. Well, then I had to go to therapy because I would, during grad school, I would run at lunchtime and like I would work out too much.
Oh,
And I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I need to like calm down and slow down. And I think that there really should be like a kind of like an exit strategy for college athletes. I mean, I was a mid-major, but like the big schools, there's a lot of issues as they exit, like eating disorders and mental health. And
so you, what were you painting in college? We're almost getting to your current work.
what did I paint in college? My paintings in college were bad.
Okay.
I had ideas of what I wanted to paint, but I didn't like, my surfaces were bad. So like I would just like glob paint on and then paint over that, and it was just not like the thin, what do they call it, grisaille or whatever in
A
French.
groza.
Like, yeah, they call
I
it,
got it.
it's like a term for like layering.
Oh, okay.
French.
So you're not supposed to just slap
Yeah.
the paint on?
No, which I really was like, bam.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I painted a series of like like the modern day 7 deadly sins,
Okay.
which was an awful idea. And
Why is that an awful
it's
idea?
just like, why did I? It's
You're
just,
just being really hard on yourself. You know what to do.
I didn't know what to do. I
Well,
had no,
that's a good idea.
and well, when I started looking at contemporary painters, I was like, oh, they like gave me permission in grad school to do what I wanted to do, but kind of gave me like navigation as to how to get there properly. Whereas I was so used to painting still lives that I was like, I'm gonna make like this baby sit on the ceiling. And my paintings were wild. But I made one painting in college that I really liked. And it was of this like woman, and she was sitting and she was like watching TV, and then all of her children were like running around, and it was the first painting I made with like invented perspective of like a bunch of different planes.
Which you use a lot now.
Yeah, which I really like to do because it reminds me of like going into an arena and like
Right.
so many different levels, and the
They're
scenes are always different. And I really
really
enjoy
interesting.
that.
I get that. Yeah, that's a lot like a basketball arena.
Yeah, or like
Like,
any big space. I like to see like how kind of like where the seams are and how they close. Like, how do they make this? Like, if this was made of paper,
yeah,
how do you do it? And I spent a lot of time sitting on the bench, so I thought about that.
right. Did you play basketball all 4 years or just 3?
I did. I played 4 years. I played about half the game, so I played
Okay.
20 minutes. I was a 3-point shooter, so I would go in when they needed me.
Were
And then,
you clutch or?
no, I mean, yeah, I mean, I could shoot. And then my senior year, I played a season of basketball and I played a season of field hockey, which was really fun.
This is
Oh my
you.
God.
I'm showing a picture of you in college.
Oh my God.
Here's your college basketball
Ew.
portrait.
Awful. Look at that hair. Brutal. Yeah, I
This
didn't.
comes right up on Google too. If you want to look up Brooke's stats, you can do that by searching her name. It comes right up. It's the
They're not very good
tribeathletics.com.
stats. They're bad stats.
What's interesting is these are the weirdest like written stats I've ever read. Like had a career high 3 assists and hit rebounds at Hofstra. It buried a pair of triples at James Madison, made her lone start of the year on senior day, hitting a triple and grabbing 3 rebounds against Towson. It's kind of like a narrative.
Here's the thing. My college, and I still have like mental problems with this, but my college basketball career is so disappointing. And I always struggle with like, should I have transferred or not? Because like we got a new coach and he never played me, and he was like a huge dick. But I called my coach that I signed for, Coach Debbie Taylor, who is still a very close friend and mentor of mine. And I was like, what should I do? And she was like, it's a really great school. You should just stay because you're not going to play basketball for the rest of your life. And I'm happy I stayed.
Yeah, that's true. Most college athletes don't go into sports. Were you thinking that you might go into sports as a career?
I would have liked to play overseas, and I could have went and
Okay.
played over in England.
Oh, yeah.
But I got into grad school and I was just like, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah. Better to do art.
I'm going to be a painter.
Cool. So when you got to the MFA program and you started doing more personal paintings
Mm-hmm.
and subjects, you started painting about basketball quite a bit as an outlet to sort of that very pressured situation that you were coming from.
I think it was a way of mourning. I think a lot of my paintings are about mourning. But yeah, so I made all these paintings about basketball and kind of like my disappointments. So I think what I do, and I'm learning this about myself as an artist, is I make paintings that come across as comical,
Yeah.
uh, to kind of make them light and funny. And if you really look at them, they're a bit sad.
This one is called It Used to Be Fun.
Yeah, and it's all the cheerleaders flipping off Coach Swanson, who I painted like a model print, and a model print um, is very transparent, and so I wanted him to look like he was losing power and like a ghost type feel, and he's got like this little peen and like this little tiny bush.
And
That,
different, this is that perspective that you were talking about too, right?
yeah,
Lots of different angles.
kind of like the collapse. I wanted it to feel like it was collapsing down.
And there's cheerleaders like giving you the finger.
Yeah, those are funny, right? I love the cheerleaders. The
Yeah.
cheerleaders are flipping, so everybody's flipping everyone off.
Yeah, you have a lot of middle fingers in your work.
Yeah, my old work had a lot of middle fingers in it.
This one is called You Suck Room.
So this is a play on what it was like to watch film.
Okay.
So basically you would go in the room with a coach and you would watch film. And so they would have like team film, and then they'd have like breakdown guard post film. And so this would be guard film, and then he would just like, you would go and sit in the offices and he would like press rewind and be like, what the fuck was that? Like, why did you
Oh
do
yeah. Like
that?
specifically at you.
Yeah.
So one-on-one film.
Yeah, pretty
Oh
much.
yeah. Yeah, you look pretty stuck to the chair.
I wanted her to look embalmed, so she kind of looks dead,
Yeah.
but I really like the idea of like becoming, like almost becoming the chair, like having such sharp color transitions, and it's like, yeah, you're like,
Yeah,
stuck.
it's like rigid. Yeah. Right?
So she couldn't move even if she wanted to, but her ponytail has some magic in it. It's sparkly.
It does. Yeah, it is sparkly. And this one is Square Peg Round Life.
So he would always yell at me and say that I was a good player, but I didn't fit in his system. So called me his square peg
Oh, interesting.
because I didn't fit in his round system. So this is me as a
Yeah.
square peg if I were to be a square peg. My favorite part of this painting is like the pant drawstring, because she has these like little dick strings, and then in the middle it's like a little vagine.
You have a lot of that sort of suggestive genitalia. Here's a wood block called Cheated.
Yeah, this is a very big piece. The paper I made out of my old jerseys that I shredded. So
Wow.
if you like go up to the print, it kind of smells like old gym socks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's you on the bench.
So it's me, and we would sit in our lockers when like the coach would come in, and so this is my locker, and then you would open up the locker, and like all your gear would like go in that cubby, and
Yeah.
so why it's like I wanted to take out the gear, make the paper, and then sit her back on the.
Oh, cool. Cool. A couple of these I hadn't seen. Like this one, She Was a Sad Giant.
This is like a little poem. I forget what it says, but like it's a little I kind of wanted to do like a collage thing, and it's on a wood board that is beveled, so it looks like a backboard. So
Okay.
a lot of it's part of the installation. In the court and in like this bottom left-hand corner, you can like it's a lot of the wood grain, and then these quartz are kind of floating away in her tears, and then I put the basketball hoop in a boat just in case like the water came over.
Interesting.
So sore.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But she's kind of wants to pick that guy up.
What about the whistleblower?
This painting is weird.
It is.
I think I just wanted to like give the whistle, and you can't tell that it's. I mean, I guess you could tell it's a woman, but like, there's no facial identification other than the earrings. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I was just like, there's just so many whistles.
And then Big Girl Thirsty.
Okay, this one is fun. I have a story for this one.
Okay.
So BG was the men's manager. Okay, BG is the man. He was always so nice to us, and he would leave us Gatorade. Like the men would get Gatorade, but the women wouldn't get Gatorade because our coach said we didn't need Gatorade.
Okay.
Um, which I don't know, maybe there was like too much sugar in it or something. But this was like this big woman and her like big shadow on the Gatorade and like her big pink finger, and she's just gonna go get some Gatorade before they take it away.
It's a painting basically of one of those Gatorade containers,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just a shadow of a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and a hand with a finger like on the spigot. That's
Mm-hmm.
all this painting is. It's very provocative. The spigot's like right on her genitalia again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like what I would call a thirst trap, basically.
Thirst trap. I like to. It's like a big honeycomb thing.
I could see this hanging kind of over a water fountain somewhere. So, what are your influences? What are some of your influences for this work? You sent over Neo Rausch. Am I saying that
Okay,
right?
Neil Rush is lit.
Yeah.
His colors, and so basically my process is like I'll make drawings in my sketchbook,
Okay.
and then I will pick like a color theme that I want to work with, and then depending on how that goes, like I'll either add or subtract because I don't want it to be too overwhelming with color because sometimes I think that can be distracting. And so I really like to look at people like Neo Rausch for color and like Alice
For
Tippett.
color.
Yeah, like Alice Tippett is awesome. She uses like 3 to 4 colors in her paintings.
Yeah, Alice Tippett, I thought was like more, she was very close color wise to your style of color. Neo Rausch, I was thinking, was more like the composition of your paintings,
Yeah, kind of like a dream. A
where
dream.
he's pulling from his life and tying it to a political statement,
Yeah.
which is what you're doing too. You're attacking like the female identity in college sports. I'm thinking.
Yeah. So I really like to look at Nicole Eisman's paintings because they're just so funny. They never get old. They're just so awesome. And even her sculpture, and like I'm not a huge sculpture person, but even her sculptures are really like unique, and there's just all these little bits.
Oh yeah, she kind of uses a lot of like quotes in her paintings. Like she quotes Matisse a lot and
Yeah.
like adds people to his paintings.
Yeah, and like she's funny.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like I really love queer artists. But Anna Benaroya, I've met a couple times. She's wonderful, but she makes these paintings of massive chicks, and they're like playing piano, or like, but they're like big buff people.
Yeah.
And I'm not as much of a fan of her color as I am of her style.
I was thinking about that because the color here is just like the almost opposite from what you're doing.
Yeah,
She uses almost no realistic colors in hers.
which I think works because like obviously nothing in her paintings is realistic, but I just love, they're so funny, and the compositions are really good.
Yeah, she's borrowing a little bit from Terry Gilliam too, like those compositions, like the body compositions,
Yeah,
remind me a lot of Monty Python
yeah.
animations. Yeah,
And like her little strokes I think are awesome. I don't know if those are painted or drawn. I should ask her. She's this like skinny little white woman
yeah.
making these paintings are huge. Like I went to the Yale that thesis show, and Rebecca Ness is also in that show as well.
Okay.
She's an unbelievable painter, like unbelievable.
Rebecca Ness.
She went to BU.
Is she ahead of you or
She's a year ahead. I mean, she graduated. She took a year off. I think she's a year older than me, but
okay.
she's a friend of mine, and she is just incredible. Like,
Yeah, I could see where you two would be friends because her work looks very, very similar in that forced perspective and
yeah,
autobiographical. But where it differs is she's not painting about basketball, basically. No, I'm
yeah,
kidding.
and she's
She uses a lot more things in her paintings too.
and she is a superstar. Like, her paintings are amazing. Like, I think she's like the best painter of our like 20, like people in their 20s right now. I don't think there's a better painter than Rebecca.
Wow, that
Like,
is
and
a high compliment.
yeah, she is nuts. It's incredible. She's just so humble and kind and so smart, and I just adore her. I like the way that she breaks down floors, and because I really like floors, that was cool to see. And then when I went to her grad school exhibition, she had this massive painting of a closet, and she talks about like kind of like queer clothing and like that identity, and the shirts are so awesome. But the neon, like this woman was like in her dressing room, and you could see like the swirl of her boob, and it's just like the little tiny nuances of gender that I love. That her work, she like really, it sings in her work, and it's like so much more discreet and beautiful, and she's wonderful, and her partner Holly is also wonderful.
I want to talk about floors. What is it about floors that you really are drawn to?
Well, wood floors are so interesting because like there's so many little ditties, and
Like when you're looking at them really close up, like
again,
you can see different lines. That's interesting.
I sat the bench and looked at a lot of floors
Right.
a long time. Like when I play basketball, they stain the courts to the
Right.
like team's colors. So then I could see like the floor, the wood panel stained in like all these different colors.
Yeah.
And that got me jazzed up. And I was talking to my teammates, I'm like, look at that purple stain.
Yeah. And they're like, what are you talking
They're
about?
like,
We're down by 10.
yeah, like you need to focus. You
Yeah.
need to go in the game.
You were like that kid on like on a little league that's just
Yeah,
like
like want to
playing
go.
with the dandelion.
Yeah, it was so. Yeah, so I think floors are interesting, and it's also to me about holding weight. The idea of like feeling grounded and holding weight is important to me, and so I think about arenas and scenes are as I would not paint something that I didn't feel was comfortable.
Yeah, none of your paintings have like floating people.
Yeah, like
I've
everyone's grounded. Whether the ground feels real or not is that doesn't matter to me. But I think that like so in my new stuff, I'm thinking like I'm working on paintings for Market Basket,
yeah.
and the floors in Market Basket are awesome. They're like these gross tiles,
Yeah.
but they're white and pale pink. Like, and
Interesting.
they don't checker like a normal floor would. It's like every other, it's like two white tiles, then a pink tile. And so it just looks like someone like splattered pink on the white floor instead. I love that shit. And like I really like game boards, kind of like the patterns on the ground I'm interested in. But I think it starts from my time in college where I would have to draw, they would send us outside to draw like the shadows. We were very into mixing colors to put like planes down for shadows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we're gonna have to like draw, we have to paint this tree, and we can only use a palette knife. So we need to mix like 17 grays to lay the shadows down flat.
Right.
And so then I got really jazzed when I could make up my own floors and shadows.
You said you were starting a series on Market Basket. Is that's a grocery store chain in
It
Boston?
is the local Massachusetts grocery store.
Okay.
And it has people that love it and people that think it's disgusting. I love Market Basket.
Okay.
It, I love Market Basket. My whole family is Market Basket. Like to the die, like hardcore. My boyfriend thinks it's disgusting.
What's the difference between Market Basket and like Shaw's or
No,
no?
because it's local. Like like the DeMoulas family owns it, so it's like a
Right.
locally owned, run business.
Okay.
It's not like Shaw's owns like Publix in Florida, owns like Stop and Shop in DC. Like
Okay, like Jewel and yeah. Oh, okay, okay. So
when
this
I
is
went to
just
college, I was so sad. I did not have Market Basket. And it is like so cheap.
yeah.
And the produce is good. So I think the produce is good. And you can get like, if you go in the mornings, they have like discount produce, which is hilarious. Like, probably just throw it out, but they just want to sell it for $1 and wrap it in like 1,000,000 pounds of plastic.
I mean, a lot of people would eat that, you know.
100%.
So that's great. Yeah.
But it's just like, it is such a warm feeling for me because I would go when I was a kid and get lost because I was looking at the floors, right? So I would get lost, and then I would go to the counter, and they would page my mother for me. So I'd
Yeah.
say, my name is Brooke Stewart, and I'm lost, and I can't find my mother. And then they would say, Liz Stewart, we have your daughter at customer service. Can you please come get her? And they have a soda machine that only sells Market Basket brand soda, and it was 50 cents.
Yeah.
And they would give you a piece of cheese at the deli.
So it's a place you love.
Yes.
And now you're making a series on it?
Yeah, so I first started thinking about like culture versus religion. Like if I had to pick a church that wasn't a church, like what would the Church of Boston be?
Market Basket was your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I know, because some people are like, oh, it's the Garden, but like nobody's playing sports right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's the Garden. I don't
Or like
personally. I went in the Garden and I was like, this is an arena. It was like looked more like a mall to me.
yeah. Correct. Anyway, so
Has the Garden always been that way, or did they update it recently?
no, they updated it. It used to be like there was like one door, and it was the same door that used to get on the commuter rail. I think they could have done a better job, but then again, I think the city of Boston should hire a lot more artists to do a lot more things.
Well, they did hire a lot of, or that brutalist architecture guy, and maybe they were like, maybe we
I
shouldn't put.
love City Hall. I think City Hall is so cool.
Could you imagine working there though? I did jury duty, and I was when they walk you in to the actual courtroom, and you're looking down the hall, and like the guard goes from like looking 6 foot tall to looking 4 foot tall. Because just from walking across like this aisle, because the ceiling is slanted at a 70-degree angle. And
It's so funny.
yeah, it's
Like
hilarious until you have to work there. Yeah.
But I think it's beautiful.
There's a whole stairway that people can't walk up because it's too dangerous.
It's like one of the only buildings that they haven't knocked down. Like it's like one of the last brutalist buildings left.
Yeah. It's fun to look at, but I just feel bad for the people that have to work there.
I know, and the people that have to work there make like city money.
Yeah. Well, that's probably pretty good, to be honest.
I know. Last year I worked 7 jobs and I made $55,000. 7 jobs. Nuts. So many W-2s.
What were you doing? You were doing teaching, professor.
I worked at Tufts. I worked at Northeastern. I worked at 2 restaurants. I worked at Coach and I worked at Kate Spade. I used to like do the boxes in the mornings.
Oh, cool.
The retail.
All at once, or was this kind of over the course of the year?
I would work in retail for holiday season.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Or I worked at the restaurants, and then during the school year, I work at the school year, and then probably some days at the restaurant.
Back to Market Basket. You're making some paintings on being there, and I see one of them is of the floor at Market Basket. Is that and your feet?
So I don't know. I think like during COVID, I was trying to find something that was like what is comfortable for me, and like Market Basket is like the definition of normal for me. Like
And
no.
you go there once a week. It's like worship, right?
Yeah, you go
Yeah.
once a week, you know where everything is, it's very routine.
Hmm.
And then like it was like, oh my God, it's not routine, you have to wait in line. Now it's like a day trip. I would pick up my friend Audrey and we went to like 4 different ones. We were like trying them all out. I'm also starting to like, okay, so I'm 26 and I am thinking about like my friends are having kids and my sister got married and my brother's having a kid and like the idea of shopping, like shopping for things, shopping for men, shopping online, like
Yeah.
what does that look like? I am putting all of these feelings into these paintings, and so I think the deli counter piece that I'm making is pretty important. It has this like notion of you take your ticket and you wait, and like while you're waiting, like something could sell out, something could move on, something like you risk the chance of if you take your ticket and say, oh, I'm 10 people back, I'm going to go to the produce department and come back, then you miss your ticket, then you got to take another one.
Right.
And so thinking about like being in a like being forced to stay in a space, and so then you read like then you look at all the meat, which is gross.
Right.
Then you read like all the labels, and then I was like, what am I going to label all my meat in this deli counter piece? And then I started thinking about men. How would I label all of the men that I've dealt with? And they all got a piece of meat. And then it's like, great, well, now my number's up. When do I get to choose my meat? And if do I even want meat?
Or did you miss it?
Or did I miss right? Or did the meat that I was supposed to choose sell out?
And you're gonna end up with that nasty
Yeah, and now
$1 meat.
now I'm with like the fishnet ham and like what the fuck.
So it's sort of like time slipping away on your biological clock.
Yeah.
Is that where you're coming from?
Yeah, and I feel like I'm 26 and I'm sitting in my freaking house where I should be like having fun at the bar or like going
Yeah.
traveling and like this we're all in this pandemic and I'm just stuck at the deli counter looking at me. But I also like the painting of the feet.
Yeah.
Um
So you have like a massive painting. It's massive, and it's of your feet in sandals on some tiled floor. I'm just describing it
and it's
to
gonna
people.
be in the freezer aisle. I have like a rocket pop. So I used to like I dated this guy previously, and the 4th of July was like a big deal for us. I think I painted it on the 4th of July or started it,
Oh,
and I'm like sitting waiting in the freezer aisle as my rocket pop melts in my hand, and like I'm gonna have like ants as leg hairs,
oh wow.
and they're gonna be like crawling up, and I'm gonna be in the freezer aisle.
So you can't tell me this isn't surrealism at this
I mean,
point.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. But it's all about like waiting. And I think,
And like not just waiting, but like the danger of waiting, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the uncertainty. And that's kind of like what is happening with all of us right now. Okay, the guy, I also am working on this large painting of this person in a hazmat suit in the orange juice aisle. People need that, the idea of like vitamin D or whatever, vitamin C.
Yeah.
But you're protecting yourself so much that you can't even get it. So it's like something that should help you in this process.
And orange is kind of a hazard color too, which is an interesting, like the orange juice
Oh,
is the hazard, right? Like in
right.
that painting.
So it's like this idea of having something perfect and healthy and what you need right in front of you. However, you're so worried
Right.
about your own self-protection that you can't even consume it. You can't even pick it up.
That's interesting. I think that's how we're all feeling, you know?
Yeah.
It's like I want to go out, but I shouldn't go out. But I want to go out, but I shouldn't go out.
It's like then the painting of the empty bag.
Hmm.
I think of that as like the crucifix, and we used it as like our trash bag. While growing up, we would never buy like the hefty trash bags. We just use that,
Oh, interesting.
and I think it's just like, yeah, this whole time is just trash, and like what are the contents of this trash?
Interesting.
Like, we
That's
can't see them
yeah.
because it's a fucking pandemic. We can't see what the trash looks like.
Awesome. Brooke, you've been a great guest.
Thanks.
You can visit the Church of Market Basket at Distillery Gallery.
It is going up. It'll be up on the 7th, and it will come down on the 7th of December.
December. Okay.
On January 16th. And I think we're going to do some type of event where people can sign up for a time slot.
Oh, cool.
Just to COVID the numbers.
Sort of a forced opening, yeah. I think of these like get your time slot to see this thing as like, I mean, it's
ridiculous.
Very
I know.
rigid,
Getting
right?
the deli counter ticket taker.
Yeah.
And been like, okay, we can take numbers 4 through 7 for the next half hour. But yeah, so we're gonna do a time slot, and then hopefully we'll let 10 people in at a time for a half hour, and then rotate them out. I think that's how we're gonna do it.
Oh, that's great.
So hopefully you'll come.
Yeah, I'm definitely coming. So if people want to find out more information, they can go to your website, brookstewartart.com.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll be posting about it on Instagram once we kind of figure out the best way to undo the sign up sheet.
what's your Instagram?
Brooke _Stewart _art.
Okay. So find her on Instagram too. And of course, those links will be in the show notes. Yes. Well, thanks, Brooke. And
Thank you.
I hope everyone enjoyed episode 1.
I'm your first guest.
Oh yeah, first guest.
Incredible. All right, I'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Hello. This is the end of the podcast where I just kind of wrap things up and do a little summary of what happened, maybe not. But I definitely want to thank my guest today, Brooke Stewart, and she was just a wonderful guest. And I've never had a more interesting conversation about floors before. Brooke, thank you so much. I hope you'll come back. If you like this podcast, hit subscribe. Chances are somebody sent you a link and you're not subscribed because it is the first podcast. So don't forget to subscribe, and even give me a rating if you feel like that's necessary. Also, you can just wait on the rating if you're not comfortable rating something after one episode. I understand. Your ratings are basically who you are, you know? You can't just rate something out of the blue and then in 2 episodes it sucks and you're like, oh man, my reputation is ruined as a podcast listener. What will my friends say? But anyway, yeah, subscribe and rate. That would be awesome. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We have more episodes coming up next week, and I hope to see you then. Or I hope that you'll listen then. I won't see you, actually. It's a podcast. So anyway, talk to you soon. Bye.